Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day here in Agawam, Massachusetts. I'm Hubby with Just About Anything Garage, and we're back on the Ghost Project. We'll call this not quite the second video. It's a continuation of the first video that we did putting new pedals. We converted from an automatic over to a standard into the Ghost Project, the 77 Corvette I have right here. If you remember and you've seen that. We had a little break from that project because we were working the C30 project. In conjunction with that, I had to get some brakes on it, and it decided that it wanted to give us problems getting brakes, so it took us a little longer to get that cleared, but we've got that all cleared out now. She's sitting over, parked in the yard over there, that's C30, and she's got brakes, so we can drive her around and move her as we need to. But what it's allowed us to do is to get back onto the Ghost Project. So let's do a little recap of where we are, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do. What we had done is we had put in, took out and then put back in the pedal assembly for the Corvette. And as you remember, we had pulled the dash apart and everything in order to get the pedals up in there. The pedals are up in there, they're attached. We have the brake booster off because the brake booster, if you recall, is 4 bolts that bolt the back end. This is the box where the pedal assembly sits. We have the front cover here all in, so it's holding it up, but we left that out. And the reason we left that out is we had the clutch rod coming through for the conversion that we did, and we have to weld on a support for the bell crank that comes across. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and mock up the drivetrain and get everything set up with what we're going to have for special parts and everything to make sure that the configuration that we have fits and that we put the bell crank piece that we got to weld into the right place. So the way that we're going to do that is we have right here the motor that's going to go in this. It's not configured totally. All we've done here so far is we get the basic block here. We've gone and we put on an iron manifold that I have using ARP bolts. We chased all the threads to make sure it'd be clean. We got a lift plate on it so we can lift it. We have the headers over here. We haven't got them unpackaged, but we'll unpackage and send them to you. We got a Doug's header set with side pipes that are going to go on this because I love that look and it sounds really cool. So we got to put that up to make sure that everything lines up. The bell crank hits in the right place so we don't have issues with that. For example, if it doesn't, I'm not cutting the headers and I'm certainly having the side pipes. So what we're going to do at that case is we'll probably pull that assembly right out and we'll go to a hydraulic versus the straight up bell crank. But I don't think so. When I ordered the parts, I ordered it for a standard transmission, not for an automatic that was in it, knowing that we were going to switch it. So we should be cool and okay with that. We have over here the bell crank that came off my 73 Corvette that I had. That was a standard. We cleaned it up and we got it painted. We're going to go ahead and that's the transmission for it. We've been working on that to clean it up. It's going to take some more, but we're going to stop there. We're going to take and we're going to bolt her right up to that bell crank, where then we're going to put the bell crank on the back of this. We'll put it up on my cherry picker right over there, hang it up, swing it over, pull the hood off on this, and go ahead and pop that in there. We got the correct cross member from, who did I get it from Performance Parts, to go in there and support the transmission in the back. It's right there. And we'll go and we'll set that all up. We'll show you putting it all together. We'll show you putting it in to the car and lining it up, and then going ahead and see if we can't get this pedal assembly all taken care of with everything in there. So what we're going to do is we'll poke it in there. We'll get everything set. Make sure that we're good. We'll mark all the places for the weld-on piece to go for that. We'll then pull it out of there. We'll do our welding. We'll go ahead and then stick it back in again. Make sure we'll hook everything up to make sure everything lines up correctly, that we got a good part. And then we'll pull it off for one last time so that we can get it ready to go ahead and put all the real parts we're going to use on it and get it prepped and fired up. Make sure that the engine's running fine. It's a crate engine. It should be good. We'll go ahead and do that. The parts for that are all over here sitting and waiting. We got a nice Edelbrock air gap that we're going to go into that I had for a different project, so it's nice and light and it's got some stuff. We got a standard HEI distributor we're going to put in there, a fuel pump and everything, along with a Holley 650. So we'll have a nice little cruiser there. Once we've got that all set up and ready to go, we'll then go back into the cockpit over here and we'll go ahead and we'll put it all back together. We'll get the seat back in, we'll get the column and steering back in, everything hooked up, make sure everything's functioning and ready to go. And then we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the next video. So the goal for this is to get the pedals all set, everything all back, seats back in, ready to go, so that we can fire up that engine, make sure everything runs, get all the drivetrain stuff worked out for the next video, and put it in there permanently. And then we'll have a cruiser. We'll have it running around on the ground. We'll go through and we'll do brakes and all that type of stuff to make sure it's running. I'll be ready to go. So let me go ahead and get everything set up. We'll put you on a tripod. You can watch me struggle with the heavy stuff, putting it all together, hanging it up, getting the hood off and doing all that stuff. And we'll get this project rocking and rolling. So hang on tight and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back here. So let me show you what we've done so far, and then we'll set you up to do the rest. We've gone ahead and we put the bell housing on. We just use, again, ARP bolts to go ahead and do that. So it's pretty standard stuff. You just put it up there and do that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the transmission. I'm going to lug it over here. We're going to see if we can get it in, and then take the 4 bolts to bolt it into the back of the bell housing. It doesn't really have any support on the shaft because we don't have the clutch in place, which is okay, because all we're trying to do again is we're just trying to mock up the drivetrain so we can go ahead and drop it in. Once we got that done, I got to pick up some bolts. We got to put the motor mounts on. We'll go ahead and we'll get that done in the next clip here. The other thing we did was we unpackaged the headers. These are the dug headers that are going to go on the motor when we go ahead and do that. This is the driver's side one, and I've already kind of just lined it up a little bit because there's over on the driver's side we've got a couple places where the pinion ball can come in, right? So there's the pinion ball that was for the 73 screwed into the bell housing. Now I don't know if it stays here. It may come to this spot, which is forward, or it could come to this spot. So there's 2 different locations on that. And fortunately for us, this one's far enough back that it's behind the headers, and this one is enough forward here that it comes out right in this tube section, because I've already lined them up. So when we go to put this in, we'll go and we'll drop. Let's walk over here. We'll get it all prepped and ready to go. We got to do some things in the bay, but we'll drop it in, and then the headers are going to come up from the bottom. We're going to jack this up a little bit more. We'll put it on stands so we get a little bit more height, and put the headers in, put the headers on, make sure we got everything lined up. We'll put the transmission cross member, which is from G-Force, is where I got it, not from Classic Performance or anything like that. It's from G-Force. And then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to tie up the, pull this back and tie it back up, the compressor for the AC, because they never disconnected it. I have no idea whether it's still charged or not. It may have leaked, who knows. We're going to pull the coolant lines for the automatic transmission that was there, and we'll take off the lower radiator hose, and we'll pull everything out and clear as much space as we can. Pull the hood off, of course, and then go ahead and we're going to drop that in. So let me go ahead and set you up on the stand. Get you pointed in the right direction here. Right there, and we'll see if we can't get the transmission on by hefting and huffing. See if it'll go in. Pull the bolts over with us. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't, I will go away and then come back and show you the results of it. But let's go and see if we can't get it in there. This is about fairly level. If I have to, we'll go and we'll get something to support the transmission, put it in. So let me just roll it over initially, like this. Get it right side up. Go ahead and we'll see if we can't get it in there. Lift it up a little bit. We can't get it in here. We may have to try and line it up with the... Let me see what we're doing here. Oh yeah. Okay, so the pilot is gonna slide into the hole on the crankshaft snout. Snouted this into the crankshaft. So let me go ahead and let's grab our jack real quick. Maybe. High now. We got it lined up height-wise, looks like. Let's see where we get alignment wise with it. And just to kind of keep it in place. You do not want to cinch it up with that and try and pull it in with it, because you'll break the ears off. Pretty close. We're close. See if we can get it caught. Looks like we might be playing with this a little bit. So let me see if I can't muscle it into shape and we'll come back. Okay, so we're back. All it really took was some jiggling to get it to wiggle in, and now we've got all the bolts caught. And what we're gonna do is the 13/16, we're gonna jiggle it and see if we can't tighten it up. How we do it here. So we don't pull on the bolts to pull it in, because we don't want to break the ear tabs off. Just keep lifting and jiggling. And pull it in a little bit, and lift it and jiggle it, and pull it in a little bit till we get it all seated on here. There we go. Pull the weight of it in. Taken care of. All right. So that's in and all tightened up. So we're going to go away now. We're going to get things set up, and we'll get ourselves ready to go ahead and drop that in. We've got to put the motor mounts on, but I got to get some bolts for that because I didn't have any. So I'll pick some of those up, and we'll be back in just a little bit again and bring you the next segment on getting this in so that we can get everything set up. So we'll be right back. All right, so let's bring you back in, show you where we're at. What did we get done? This is about a day later. Yesterday was the 4th of July. Today's the 5th of July. Hope you guys had a great 4th. I did a little bit, didn't do a lot, but here's where we're at. We got the engine all set up and ready to go in. We got the lift plate on it. We've got the intake manifold all bolted down. We got the things that need to be covered. We got the bell housing on. We got the transmission in. You saw that in the, just a second ago in your perspective. So that's all on and tightened down, ready to go. We put motor mounts on. They're sitting there and ready to go. We have all the bolts we need. We put the ball in what we believe to be the correct spot. It lines up if I put it in there and then use the rod that they gave us for the clutch assembly to where it's going to go, rather than in this spot right here on the bell housing, which is where it was originally. So we're getting ready to go ahead and pop that in. So what we've done over here on Ghost, the Corvette, is we've got the hood off. We pull that off. That's a pretty easy process. It's like, what, 6 bolts, the hold-up mechanism, and then 2 on each side of the hinge bolts. We've got the AC compressor pulled over. We are going to wrap that with a couple ties to make sure it stays over. And we're going to pull all this stuff in here out and pull it back. What we're trying to do right now is I want to get these transmission cooling lines out of the way because they're not going to be used. And they just sit down there in the way. So if you can look down in here, I've already tried to pop it off. They're not particularly rusted, they're just tight. So we're going to put a little heat on the radiator to see if we can't get them to loosen and pop a little bit. And we'll go do that and we'll pull everything in. So I'll bring you back in when we're just about ready to go ahead and drag the motor over and get ready to go. The other thing we're going to do is, I think it's probably plenty high enough off the ground to do this, so we're not going to go ahead and adjust anything. I think it's just positioned pretty well. When it's on the wheel dollies like that, it's up. We do have 2 flat tires. I'll see if they'll inflate when we go to put they should hold air. They have been. They just leak down rather quickly. You got to get 2 new ones on the front here so that we can consistently stay up as we go ahead and do this. But we'll be ready to go here in just a little bit. We'll get that in. We'll get everything lined up, and we'll see what's happening. So stay tuned. We'll be right back when we're ready to go ahead and pop that motor in, and then we'll set you guys up on a tripod and show you the process of popping the motor in, going back and forth with it, and all that type of stuff, and see how it goes in. C3 Corvettes are characteristically a pain in the butt when you're doing stuff like that because of how tight it is. Not that it's difficult from the perspective of being a car, just that everything's packed in there really tight. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. We'll show you what we're about, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes here. All right, so we're back at it again. As you can see, we've got the engine up on the stand here. I've got a strap because I don't have a leveler to go ahead and level it up for right now. So what we're going to do is and we may have a distance issue from the nose of the vet into the back. We'll see what happens. Generally, you got to kind of come in an angle. If we have to, we'll back out and we'll do that. But what I'm going to do here is, since I'm alone currently and I don't have any help to do this, is I'll wiggle this forward. I'll put you on the stand. We're going to rest it. We're going to get it over this, over the Corsa part. Let it down and rest it on it a little bit so that we can take this off without this slamming back down, because it's on a ratchet strap and the weight would have a tendency to want to wind it. So we'll support it. Then we'll jack it up just a little bit and sneak her on in and see if we can't drop it to get it in there. If we have an issue with it, again, of course, we'll go ahead and we'll reverse the process. We'll lift it out and we'll get it back up there. So let's go ahead and get you set up on the tripod. So you're looking at this and we'll see how this goes, okay? Now let's see if we can smush this forward a little bit without getting it rocking too much. You know, I wish they built these with big pneumatic, or these plastics and the casters on it, which makes it a little bit on the difficult side sometimes. Let's see if we can't pull this over, can't kick it over. So we'll have to see if we can't. Oh, not without using the trusty hammer. Give this wheel a little turn. push it that way. Give this one a little turn. Just push it in. See if it won't guide it in a little bit. Yeah, there we go. All right. Right on top where we want it. Straighten it up here a little bit. Put it down a little bit. So it'll rest nice and easy. Take some pressure off. Okay. I want it to push the deck back or anything to here. Good. It's resting. We're slacked. Not the total weight off of it, but let's let it down just a little bit more. See what happens. Pushing this back, so let's not do that. There. Slack up a little bit here. Take that support off. Not even touching the body. And of course, if it's got a hook on it, it's going to get caught on something. It's just the way it is. All right. May have to put it back up and back it out, because I think we're going to need to go here on that first in order for it to drop. Because I don't think, based on where it is, maybe, and I can pull the bolts out of that shroud to see if the shroud will let it drop, because it's kind of hanging on it just a little bit. Let the shroud bend forward. Take some pressure off of that shroud. Yeah, see, that'll angle down, but not enough probably. Okay, that's not resting. Might be able to. Let's go ahead and just take that shroud out and see what happens. Okay, we're back. We got the shroud out. You think it'd be easy, right? But they put a metric head size bolt on one side and then a self tapper on the other side to put the shroud in. And then of course, everything in a Corvette, nothing can come out easy on that. No. Why would I want to do that? All right, so let's see if we can get back to drop. Let's see if this will angle itself such that it will, as we let it down a little bit, as we go through, will guide itself in, or we have to pull it back out. All right, we're pulling backwards, so let's turn these wheels back around. They'll go in the right direction. That one's still good. This one's turned a little bit too much. Okay. Let's see You can go forward a little bit here. Here we go. Slide it down a little. Just a little bit. Right about there. So you can get enough angle. In there. Down a little bit more. Right about there. I think you can get it to swoop under there. Inch it forward just a little bit. Okay, around the firewall. Let's let it down just a little bit, and we'll push it down. We should be able to hook it underneath the edge of that firewall. Forward a little bit more. If we can. We're running out of forward space here. If we let it down some. She might swoop. Peeling the paint on the oil pan, but yeah, we're starting to pull it in too. It's starting to swing forward a little bit. And do that. Okay. So I think to. I think if we come to the forward eye, let it dip down, we'll have enough swing and we can get it to slide and drop. Other thing we can do is take it out and extend this. I'm at 1.5. We should be able to do 1 ton on this. Give us a little bit more extension length to push in. So let's do that. Let me go ahead and pull it out. We'll be back. We'll make the adjustments. We'll take another shot with the boom a little bit longer. And the hook repositioned. I think we should be cool. So we'll be right back. All right, so we're back. So what we did was we lengthened it. I had it on 1.5 tons. I put it out to 1 ton, which should be sufficient, which lengthened the boom and allowed us to get deeper. Then I extended the front legs on the cherry picker to get further underneath so it wouldn't canter up. And now we're more or less in the same position we were further. But we got more than enough space up front so that we can push that engine forward and let it drop in. So we'll keep inching it down and pushing down on the transmission to get it underneath the firewall. See if we can't get that baby to slide in there. Let's find out. I may have to go under and straighten the wheels out because it's really hard to push it. See, it's sliding in there. Let's give it a little forward momentum because we can. Yeah, see, that's really hard. Okay, and as we continue to lower it should get pretty close to where it needs to go. We're decent. We're not touching up here at all. We can get it to go forward a little. Really close. You got like that far to go, and that far to go. So I'm gonna disappear here for a second, come right back because I got almost a dead battery on this camera. Be right back. All right, we're back after a quick battery swap in the camera, and while it was having somebody look and bring me the battery, I did a little work. We got it in. It dropped more or less right in. We had to tweak a little, use the 2x4 to shift it back as we dropped it, but she dropped right in. So she's in there. She's on the mounts. Not quite hole lined yet. We're going to have to fiddle and finagle a little bit, and we want to put the rear trans support on so that we have it at the right height. Then we'll come back and we're going to slip at least the header up on the driver's side so that we know where the header tubes all align, and attach that. You can see the, you should be able to see that ball right down there where it's aligning to and where it's pointing. It's lining up right about where I expected it would line up, and we're going to go ahead and once we have the headers in place, we'll go ahead and do that. So once I go to start struggling with the headers, we'll set you up. We'll play with it a little bit to just see if we can get the holes aligned, and pop some bolts in it just so nothing moves when we're doing stuff. But she's going to get in there. We're close. All right, so let me set up for the next phase with the headers, and we'll be back. But we have an engine in the bay with a transmission and a bell housing, so hang tight. All right, we're back, and we have an engine in. It's got the bolts in it. I haven't tightened them because we know that this is coming out, but they're all aligned and in. And we're getting set up to see if that header will fit or whether we need to raise it. We also have, let me get some extra light here. Sorry for turning sideways, cross member there. The correct one for the standard transmission. Up and bolted, there's a cross bolt that goes across the top. We're going to put that in. We're just doing a support bolt, so everything's in and level to where it needs to be. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try and get this header up underneath and in. I'll go ahead and set you up on the top and let you look down on it while we're trying it. But if there's not a lot of super cool action, like you see a header poking up there, I'll go away for a minute and show you the end results. But you can watch me struggle for a while. That's okay. I don't mind. So let's get you set up on the tripod again. Take you right over here. And get that off. Okay, let me set a couple things up here. I was going to take some tinkering. You're not going to see anything anyways, and we will come back in just a few. All right, so the header bolted right into place. It fits pretty smoothly, comes right up from underneath, and you can just wiggle it right up in there. And we got a bolt in each of the flanges where the exhaust ports are to hold it. And we've gone ahead, we put the ball back on, and we put the other side. Now it's not welded in, it's just everything is set up so we have a good reference. Everything has got great clearance, it moves freely and everything, and it looks really good. It looks pretty straight and linear to where it is. So what we'll do now is we're going to mark it first just to make sure, and then we're going to go ahead, tack it in place, take it apart, put it back where it goes, tack it in place a little bit so it doesn't go anywhere, and then we pull everything out, get a good weld on it to make sure everything's kosher and ready to go. And as long as it doesn't move, we're not going to go ahead and re-put the engine back in to check it. We'll just make sure that we mind our P's and Q's and make sure that everything works fine. And you see if I wiggle it, it moves it. So what we're going to have to do is not wiggle it. We're going to have to reposition to get it. But we'll go ahead and we'll reposition this so it's nice and square, nice and flush, tight down. It's a little bit forward. We want it to come back a little bit, so it's not all the way compressed up against that. There we go, nice and square. So we're going to mark that with a black marker so we know where we're going to lay it down. We'll get everything out of there, we'll tack it, and we'll go ahead and then we'll throw a weld down. If we think it's moved at all, we'll go ahead and we'll redo it and have to touch these headers up a little bit because they just got some black, but the headers look really cool. I mean, I haven't put the pipes in yet, but maybe we'll do that just to get a look at it. So it looks, you can see where they're coming off here, up and over. I love this setup because it just makes them look evil and mean, and I love the black finish on it. So let's go ahead and pull. I can't resist this. Let's pull a header out of the box. I'll bring the pull the header out and bring it over, and make sure to get the right one here. And pull the header, the pipes out. See how a pipe looks inserted in there. Hopefully really cool. There we go. Got this packing material. No problem. Everything out now. Make sure we get the right pipe out. I believe this is the right side, yeah. Let's go ahead and get this out of the bag. Support it in there. See how that's gonna look. All right. Okay. So I have to figure out how the bracketing goes on it. If this is on the right side or not, the correct side. If you were to put this on the other side, yeah, it would go under it more. Question is it going to go under it more with the way that the headers come up like this? Or does it turn, you know what? It turns sideways so it projects outwards, not downwards. That's how that works. And it comes up and it bolts into the frame laterally with it. That's how it's going to happen with that. So let's go ahead and give this a twist. I'll go ahead and set you guys up. Sorry, just trying to undo the tripod link because I got legs on my handle here. Set you guys up to see it. There we go. Handle one. Handle two. Leg two. Get me back. Sorry for the finger. And let's pull the block out. We're going to give it a little twist. Put this off for a minute. Oh, it's on your boot. careful with that. So I can't take it away from the door. Here it comes. Scratch in my door. There we go. Then it'll go in like this. That'll go up and slide up in there like that. There we go. Line it up. It'll look something like that. When it's not quite so close. It'll come out from the door a little bit because it's held off a little bit, but and it's got to slide up a good 4 inches so it'll be away from the tire, but it'll look pretty cool. They give complete instructions on how to trim it, how to put the pipes on it, everything. So that's where it is. So we're going to go away, pull this apart here. We'll go ahead and get everything marked. We'll go ahead and we'll show you tacking it and then welding it in. All right. So we will be back. All right. So back for a second because I got a question for you guys. Now that we're playing with the side pipes here to see how they look, and we showed you that it's positioned so that these are set up to point directly parallel to the ground, right, and go straight out. What are your thoughts on taking it and turning it so it's 45? I prefer the 45 look, and you could do that by taking and bending those tabs out a little bit. You could take and heat them up and then bend the tabs, the front and the back tabs, so that they line up the same way, but they hold the pipe at a 45-degree angle to the ground rather than straight out like they're designed to do. Let me know what your thoughts are, because by the time it releases, we won't be at a point where we're installing the exhaust yet. We'll be just before that point. So give me some comments. Let me know your thoughts. Straight out like they're supposed to be, or turn it so it's at a 45. And we'll see who wins, and then we'll do that. If you think it should stay the way it's designed, we'll go ahead and do that. If not, we'll do it the way that I like it, which is at a 45-degree angle. But I will go with what you guys say. So give me some comments back on that. All right. We'll be back in just a minute as soon as we got everything set up to do that tack welding. All right? Okay, so here's where we're at. Like I showed you before, the headers are in. We've gone and I was able to throw a quick tack on that. It moved just a little bit, but it'll be okay. It's in the right position for that. We got a tack on the inside and a tack on the back side. And we have the shaft out. So what we're doing with the shaft now is we're trying to get the shaft set up so I can make sure the distance is right. I've only got tacks on it, so if I need to move it, now's the time to do that. And to do that correctly, the instructions that came with the clutch set has you do two things. First, I don't think you can see it, but down in the bottom of this, there it is, that little white, that's a little white bushing cup that slides into the block mounted ball on there and just sits and rides. Now on the top piece, they have two of them. There's one that's pressed into the bottom, and there's one that's pressed upside down in the ball to capture the ball between the two. And then what we've got to do is we've got to put this retaining clip right here. It's not a little retaining clip. There's a little ring. We got to switch that in there. So what it'll do is on this end where it's the frame side that's pointing at the camera, we'll be able to move the ball around and wiggle it. It'll go into the brace in the bracket. It'll get secured with the felt washer. A felt washer on this side, and it just slides in. So that if you ever have to take the Z bar out, you just disconnect it from the frame side and lift it on out. So what we're doing is we got to get the clip in there. So I wanted to bring it in real quick to show you what progress we've had. You saw the headers hooked up there. Everything is looking good. We're all lined up. We're tacked in there so it won't move. So let me go ahead and get this clip in, because it's going to take two hands and it's going to be a struggle. It may take me more than a minute, and we'll go ahead and put that in there. Make sure everything is working smooth. And if it is, we'll go ahead, we'll pull everything out, and we'll go ahead, we'll throw one more tack on it to make sure it won't move. Then we'll start to pull this stuff out again. We'll go ahead and really weld it in there good and clean and tight with a good weld. And once that's done, we're in pretty good shape. We can go ahead and we can put the booster back on. We can secure the rest of the steps. We can go back inside the cockpit. We can get all the pieces back up in there. We can get the driving in there. We can get everything lined up. Get the inside tacked, buttoned up. Once we have that buttoned up, we can come back to the motor, get it all set up and ready to go. Pop it in for the final time and fire it up and see what we got. All right, so let me go ahead and get that clip on there. We'll come back when we're moving into the next stage. Shouldn't be too long. Okay, so I got it back in. Got the all the rubber pieces for the cross shaft all assembled. It's all sitting there. It's all together. It's all tight. We got it tacked in with the initial tacks in there. Everything's loose. Everything goes fine. It's not quite square to it, but it's okay. It's only off just by a little bit. Looks like it's going to be just fine in terms of what we're doing. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to crawl underneath it real quick, and we'll go on the block side. We'll put the bar in that pushes on the throwout bearing just to make sure the distances are correct. And we got everything set up in the right places for sure. And I'm pretty sure it has to be because it's where this rod is coming out. It can't be any farther back. It has to go right where it is. So we'll just verify that the rod length is good and we'll be in good shape. And then everything comes apart. This is going to come out. We'll go ahead and get it permanently welded in there with a nice weld perimeter all the way around it. And that will be all set and ready to go. And then it's on into the cockpit to go ahead and get everything back together in here, back up under to the nice cozy environment there with the brake, clutch, and gas pedal. And we'll get everything back together and we'll get this project rolling along on the road. All right, so stay tuned. We'll be back for the next segment. Okay, so everything lines up perfect. We got the push rod to the throttle bearing, just lines up perfect. The throttle bearing arm will go in there, no problem. So everything's gonna line up. So now we're gonna go forward, we're gonna yank everything out, we're gonna get everything welded in, and then we'll jump into that cockpit like I said just a little bit ago. But I couldn't resist. I also set up the side pipes. I wanna show you how that looks. They're gonna look amazing. It's gonna be really cool. I love the look on the 77 with the header side pipes that come out. And this has the turn downs coming straight out. It's the way it's set. So the question of the day, and I think I mentioned it earlier, is do we turn it at 45? Do we leave it original? Do we change it so it turns down? Let me know your ideas in the comments. I would appreciate it. It's easiest to keep it the way it is. Might be a little loud, but that's okay with me. So you guys let me know what you're thinking. All right, we're going to be back once we're on to the next step. See you shortly. Alrighty then, so we've got the headers off, we got the motor bolts out, we have the cross member out, and transmission's hanging down. We have it hooked up to the cherry picker, and so let's see if we can pluck this sucker back out, get it out of here reasonably, and go ahead and get all the welding done, and then we'll get into the cockpit and finish that up. So just hang on tight here and I'll give you a little action on trying to extract this sucker out of here. Right, here we go. There we go. One extracted, mocked up engine. Now what we gotta do is pull it all apart again, set it aside for just a little bit. We're gonna get right into the cockpit here and go right to where we, let me turn the light on so you can see. Right into there, and we're gonna finish welding that, get it all nice and welded in nice and clear, and we'll be ready to rock and roll on the inside of the cockpit. All right, so we'll come back when we're doing the welding. We'll set up to do that, and we'll be back in just a little bit. Right, so let's do some welding. I got no idea whether you'll see this or not, but I've got you set up anyways. And I'm tucked in here with shorts on, so I'm probably gonna regret this. Let's see if we can get a bead going here. Pretty decent bead. First one went down pretty good. Let's go to the other side so we don't warp anything. It's not horrible. All right, let's finish it off in the middle. Not great, but not bad. I don't think it's going anywhere. I'd like to get behind it if I can, but I don't think I can do that. Move the corners a little. Take you off and to get a close-up. Not horrible, but I got a lot of welding practicing to do. I don't think it's going to go anywhere though. So we'll hit that with a little, let it cool down, and hit it with a little black spray paint. Make sure that it doesn't, we'll smack it around a little bit too to make sure that it's firmly in there. And then I think we're probably pretty set to move on to the next aspect and get into the cockpit of this sucker and see what we can do and get it wrapped up. So hang on tight and we'll set you up for that when we're doing it. All right, so we're back at it again. So we've got the booster on, and that was a royal pain because remember that secures the backside of the pedal assembly, right? So we're down upside doodle, of course, in here to get that. And I know it's really hard to see. Let me turn on some extra light in here. And you can see up there where they, I think you can see them where they are, and they're hard to get to. The one that's on the top here in the back corner where this pedal is here, you can't get to it with a tool. So what I had to do is I had nylon captivator nuts. They went on 3 of the bolts that I could get to. And then on that back one that's right up at the top in the back corner there, I know you can't see it, I used the nuts that came with it, which was regular nuts, but I spun them on with my hand, got them as tight as I one on as tight as I could, and then I used a jam nut. And I'm trying to get a wrench up there so I can just tweak it, and we'll keep trying until we get it. But right now what we're doing is we're putting pins on. We got the pin in the brake right there. We just got to put the retaining clip on the back side. That's pretty easy. They gave us a funky clip for the clutch rod that comes through. There's a clutch rod on the side of this clutch pedal that's sitting on there, but it's hard to get the pin in because they give you a funky looking clip for it. It looks, in their instructions like it's a regular normal hitch clip, right? But it's not. It's, let me show you and get it out of my pocket. It's a really funny looking one, and I know it's supposed to clip over the rail and then go through the hole and clip that way and secure so it can't slide out, but I can't get it to go while it's up and in there. It's so that the space is so we're going to go and get a regular hitch pin, one of the ones that you'd find on a tractor or something that you put in and it clips over on it and keeps things on. That'll work just fine. Put a washer on the backing of it and we'll do that. So we're going to run off and go get that. Once we get that and we got it all tightened up there, then all we got to do is put the rest up. Now I say just, but it'll be just as much of a struggle as the other stuff, but we should have this in the next few hours back together again, have the steering in, and I'll bring you in at certain times here while we're doing this to show you what our progress is. You just can't see. I've said it 100 times before. I'll say it again, up in there and work, because you can hardly bend your arms and have a light while you're doing that. So we'll be back in just a little bit of time here and show you where we're at. Hi there, back again. I thought I'd take a second to show you, I know I alluded to this earlier, the hackery that some people do when they're trying to do something. So we had shown in a previous video in the series that they had cut the seat belts. For whatever reason, I don't know, they cut the seat belts. And here's one of the hackeries that they did when they did that is on the retractors. Now, I suspect what happened is the retractor got frozen, and when they tried to go in and fix it, they figured they couldn't get it out. But we're going to have to go ahead and attack that and get that taken out and taken care of it. Was going to hold off for a minute putting this little segment in there because I wanted to put these bracket pieces up in there and then go ahead and tell you what we've totally got done on the pedal swap. But I'll take this opportunity, since how I want to complain about the hackery, to give you a show. So what we did is the pedals are all in. We got everything attached. We got the brake booster back into the back of the and I've talked about this already, is all secured. I had one bolt that was really hard to get to because the new clutch pedal is kind of in the way. So what I had to do for that is I have let me show you here, since how I've got them. The originals that came on the first booster, which is the original for the car, has these nuts on it that have the nylon inserts to keep them on there. So I was able to use 3 of them on 3 of those, but on the back one it was hard to get because you can't really get up there with a tool because it's all blocked. I used the ones that came with the booster, which are just standard nuts. And I was able to get my hand up in there, put it on, get it started, and spin it with my fingers, tighten it down, and then I used the second one as kind of a jam nut. And I was able to get a small 1/2 inch up there, just enough to tweak it to tighten it in there. So the booster is really on there tight. Now the pins that I was telling you about in the previous segment, I said they had the weird pins on it that insert, but I figured out how those use. I was looking at it backwards. You just flip it around and you just stick it in the hole and you let it clip over the rail, and it works perfect. It won't allow that pin to come out or the rail. Now on the brake pedal pin, there's a pin that goes on there. It's got a what would you call it? Probably a D clip. It's springy, where you push it up, you put it on, you come down. There's a little edge that comes over and links the top of the pin so it can't slide out. Putting that on, and it sprung, and it's somewhere in the dash, and I couldn't find it. And I pulled the carpet up and I looked in underneath the carpet because I dropped a bolt before, so it was easy to get that out. So what I did is I just went over to my bin and I just pulled out a standard C-clip and put it on there. It's on there tight. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to pop off. So we have all that taken care of. Next step, and I'll show it to you in all one piece when we got it done, is to put the big bracket on first. The second bracket, this little bracket, we'll go ahead and we'll get the steering column all put up and in there, sitting over here next to the replacement belts I have, fortunately, to fix that little problem that they did for me, although it's saddle versus red. We'll get the column back in. We'll make sure everything, we'll clean that up a little bit so it's not quite so dirty. We'll make sure all the contacts are clean so that we plug everything in, everything works. We'll get that back up and in there. We'll get all that work done. We'll get it all connected. Then we'll come back and we'll show you all that work. And I'm going to keep the seat out because I want to do a little work on the seat. I had shown in the previous video where the bottom of it's missing trim pieces. We want to get the trim. And I want to flip it over because the adjuster isn't working. The cable isn't connected to it. So we're going to go ahead and get that taken care of. So we're going to just leave the seat out because it's no big deal to put the seat back in. And we will address that stupid safety belt. So let me go ahead and whine a little bit to you guys. If you're out there doing projects, I know a lot of you don't do this. Man, get help if you need help. Don't, for the next guy, do that type of hackery because it makes it expensive. I don't know if you've ever priced safety belts, but they're expensive to price, and particularly on a Corvette if you want to keep it original. It is muy expensive, even to go to a junkyard or something and to get those and to find the ones that work, and particularly the color match. So please, I would ask you to do that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get that work done. We'll come back. We'll show you the results of it because, again, I'm up and in there and you can't see anything. I can practically hardly move. And yesterday was a frustrating day. I will not deny it. Let me tell you, it's hard to bend up in there. We'll be back. We'll move this. And then once we have that done, like I was saying, we're pretty much set up and ready to get the engine over here busted apart again because, remember, it's just marked up. Get the engine together, get it all in its real trim, ready to go. Pop it back in here, get everything hooked up, and go ahead and fire that motor up so that we can make sure that everything's running fine and we're ready to fly with that. So we're getting here pretty close. And once we do that, we'll do a video on doing the brakes, and I will touch up things to make sure it rock and rolls. And then hopefully get this out on the road and do a little test drive with it, make sure everything's functioning well. And once we do that, we can address other issues in other videos and or do for what we intended to do with it, which is to make it a test platform for performance parts and do some fun stuff with it. See if we can't turn it into a fire breather and have it be a nice, reliable driver as well as a fire breather. All right, so hang on and we'll be back with the next segment here, and we'll get this project rocking and rolling and maybe flaming some tires. All right, well, we're back. From your perspective, it's been seconds. From my perspective, it's been a couple days. It's a beautiful day here in Agawam. It is July 16th currently with this filming. Early, well, not relatively early in the morning, about 9 o'clock in the morning. It's supposed to be a super hot one today, and it's been humid around here lately, but just a little information for you. All right, I knew I told you in the previous segment that we were going to wait till we got everything in and then show you what, but I wanted to show you what we got done here real quick. After we showed you the little seat belt thing, and we took a second, and you know, I've got the first structure back up in there, the bracketing. That's what the word I'm looking for, bracketing. The bracketing up in there, and that thing was a royal pain in the butt. Caused me to take a couple days because it was uber frustrating. Let me tell you, it is so cramped up in there trying to get the bolts to line and move everything around, get everything out of the way. It's a pain. The next one, which is the bracketing piece that actually supports the steering column, should go in pretty easy. It's 4 carriage bolts. They'll probably be a pain in the butt, try and pop out, but it shouldn't be that much harder. So we'll sew that. But let me show you up in there with the light. See if you can see up in there. There's that bracketing piece right there. Up in, like I said, that was a real pain because 2 of the bolts are behind the dash. And you got to hold it up, and you got to align it, and you got to get the screws to catch, and all that type of good stuff. But we're getting there. We're going to get the next piece up in there, which goes onto the holes on the side, uses 4 carriage bolts to connect to that, and we'll be in pretty good shape. Just need to make sure all the routing of these wires aren't in the way, aren't trapped behind the steering column when they're not supposed to be. So we're going to take a little time here as we get this together to go ahead and make sure everything is taken care of and out of the way before we go ahead and put that up there. And we'll come back and I'll show you. I may have the column already in there for you. We'll stop and see what it looks like at that point. But we're back on it. We took a slight little break here, so it's, from your perspective, not too long. From my perspective, it's been a couple days. All right, so let me go ahead and get everything set up, and we'll be right back with what we got. Okay, update time. I'm going to set it before, I'm going to say it again. This job sucks. Cut stuff coming out was hard. Going back in's harder. But we do have the 2 braces back in there. So let me turn on a light, I'll show you. It's a pain because the second brace goes in with carriage bolts that drop in from the back side, which is, you know, hard to get to in the first place. And then they're loose, of course, so they're dangling. And when they're dangling, it's hard to get the bolts on them because they like to push back up, so you got to grab them with a pair of needle nose pliers. But I don't know if you can see that very well, but those bolts are right back in there. These 2 bolts in the front right here are for when the column comes up and bolts on. Oh, that's a decent view, I think, right there. You can see it right up in there. Had to make sure that all the wiring harnesses were down, right? Everything that goes up underneath, all the connectors and things. There's one I'm looking for that I remember seeing up there, which is kind of a flat harness. I'm going to check. I might be remembering it might be on the steering column and plugs into a one of these here on that. So that's the next thing, is just to make sure that we got all the hoses, we got all the wire connections down, nothing's in the way is going to interfere when we do it. I got that module in the back there. I'm going to secure it up with a tie wrap though. Make sure it stays up out of the way and doesn't interfere with the clutch pedal, because it didn't have the clutch pedal there before. I got the light indicator, stop light, and the cruise control switch back up on the brakes, so that's all set up and ready to go. We'll have to make sure we can get the ducting in. It's more or less lined up. Of course, we got the dash back together. As you can see here, it's all back in and in place. So we're down to the steering column, plugging everything in. The duct work to make sure for the AC and the heat is hooked back up, and we're fundamentally back together. And I'll be glad when this part of the job is done, so we get to the fun part with the engine and get some tires ripping, because that'll be a lot more fun to do. Anyways, that's where we're at. It's going up. It ain't any fun at all, but we'll get it together and we should be in pretty good shape. Let's look at this harness here real quick while we're over here. Yeah, the one I'm remembering is attached to the harness, so we'll have to figure out where the heck that plugs into. It's this plug right here, and it's probably the cruise or something like that. It's going to be fun to figure that out, but we'll get there. We figured out everything else so far, so we'll get it back together. We'll give you another update when we got the steering column in. I'm going to clean that up a little bit. It's a little hook at the bottom, and we'll start to struggle with that one. All right, we'll be back. All right, we're almost there. We're close, guys. We're really close. Let me show you. We've got the column in place. We went and cleaned it up, put it up there. We wiggled it on in through there, got it into its proper place. We got all the harnesses connected into the right places. Everything fits perfect. So where I'm at now is I just need to wait for a little bit of help, because it's got to be lifted at the same time. It's pulled back a little bit and then aligned to go into the splice coupler right here into the steering. You can see it sitting right there, getting ready to go in there. But I got to get some help to do that, because I got to have somebody help align it while I lift it and go and rock and roll it in there. So I got to wait a little bit for that because everybody's busy, but I will get them. We'll come back, we'll do that, we'll get it in there, we'll get it bolted up, we'll make sure everything turns. Gonna have to wait to check on the electrical, because there's no battery in it and it's disconnected from the motor, so we'll do that a little bit later when we get the motor in there. But otherwise, we're moving along. We should have this in today, and this is what is this, July 17th, July 16th. It's July 16th, and after that we'll work on that seat right there. We'll get the sliders on the seat set up, we'll get the seat back in, and then we'll turn our attentions to that motor, get it all set up with the trans and everything. And in there, get it test fired, make sure everything runs all right. And once we do that, it's just go over the brakes, make sure we get good tires and wheels. And this baby will be rolling along the road. We're not gonna worry about the AC initially. We'll get there, we'll get that hooked up. And we're not gonna worry about the cruise control initially. They'll have to be separate things that we look at, but there'll be nice little projects to focus on as we get this together. and turn this into a fire-breathing platform to test stuff on. All right, so we'll be back in just a little bit once we got that steering column up in there, and you guys just hang tight, and the next time you see that thing, it won't be on the floor, it'll be up where it's supposed to be. All right, back on the case. Okay, so we're trying to get the column in, and attempt number 1 was a failure. Not that anything was particularly wrong, we just couldn't get the securing bolts here up into the piece of the bracket. And the reason is the bracket needs to be adjusted so that the bolts will line up. And the way that you do that, if you remember, I told you it's in with carriage bolts that you put in from the top on the base bracket, the one that went in first, the bigger one. And then you put that one up. Well, the base bracket is slotted north to south, and the bracket for the steering column where it attached is slotted east to west. So you have adjustability in both directions. So think about it as you can basically, you have a circle you can do that's about, it's about ½ inch. There's about ½ inch long slots on each of them. So you can do that. So what's going to have to be done here is, and it's going to be a royal pain because of course, like I've been saying, there is no space. We're going to have to get up in there, loosen those bolts up a little bit, and make it so that bracket will move. Go ahead and push the column up, adjust the brackets to the holes line up, get them in there started, make sure everything aligns up good, and then try and get around it to tighten them, at least 2 bolts, one on each side, so that they'll stay in place. And then once in place, we can drop the column down again, we can tighten everything up, then we can go ahead and put the column back in there and get it secured. Just got to lift it up, we got to press it forward so it goes into the spline for the steering, and then bolt it up, and we'll be good to go. Put the cover in, and then this baby's ready to rock and roll. All the connectors went in cleanly and easily. We made sure everything was lined up. I cleaned them before I put them in there, so hopefully we won't have any contact issues, and none of them are caught, so we should be able to get everything up and in there. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I will be back one more time, and we'll show you the results and tell you how hard it is, and I'll give you a little sum up of the procedure. So if you decide to, if you need to remove your column, or you want to remove your column to do something similar, I'll make it easier for you to put that column back in. All right, so we'll be back in just a little bit. All right, attempt number 2 to get the steering column back in. As you can see, it's laying here on the floor. Like I was telling you earlier, we did a little epoxy on the cutout solenoid here, so that it wouldn't do that. But we got it back up in there, and we removed the brace, and we pulled the brace as far forward. I told you about that. But the problem we ran into is you can't really align the splines, and the reason there's a couple of reasons for that. One, it's hard to direct it to get it in. 2, the splines are very fine. So let me crawl up in there and I'll show you what I mean. And secondly, you've got to get the flat. There's a flat on it. If you don't line the flat up in the right place, there's no way. Excuse my armpits and stuff here as I get us in here. There's no way that you can get it to align at all. And it's really hard to feel around with your finger as you're trying to do it. Make everything align. As you can see it right here. Got to find the flat spot on this where it doesn't, right here, and then align it to the right spot and turn the steering box along with that. And it's just not easy to do. You really can't do it. So here's what we did. As you can see, we split the rag joint, and to do that, I had to pull it right off because you know they get old, they get crusty. There's 2 different bolts, be aware. There's a bigger bolt and a smaller bolt for that. But once you get it apart, we just cleaned it up. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this onto the shaft when it's true. Then we'll line it up to where it needs to go. Big and little bolt will be like this in this case. We'll put it on, put the screws on, and voila, we'll have it together. Seems how it takes 2 people, and I have a camera shy person. I will go ahead and we'll do that. We'll show you the steps, and then we'll show you it together. So be aware, this ain't easy. You're gonna have to break it at the rag joint in order to get it to go. So stay tuned. We'll have that all set up. We'll show you in just a minute. Okay, so it's partially on. We're tapping it on there. We'll get it, we had to go just a little bit further here. We had to, I don't know if you can see it through the dirt, but I had to hang it using actually it's an extension cord. I don't advise it, you know, use a rope or a bungee or something and pull it up there, but that's what I had handy. So let's see if we can get this to slide right like that, right up to the edge of it, and hopefully that'll be where it goes. I'm gonna stick the bolt in it, make sure it doesn't slip off, lock it in place here. Let's see, which side's the slip side, which side's the screw side. This is the slip side. Yeah, let's get that started in there. I don't know if that needs to go up any further or not. We'll have to look and see if it's aligned with the flat here. A little further. Looks like it might go all the way up. Okay. And seat itself. More? I don't know. I think we'll leave it out in case we need to adjust it. When, you know, when we push it in, we pull it together with a rag joint and let it seat where it wants to. So there we go. That's in there, and then when I get some help, we'll see if we can't get it on this. All right, stay tuned. Well, hi there. Okay, we have victory with the column. We've got the column back aligned, the bracketing, moving it forward, did the trick on that. We got it in there, and we got the splines adjusted by splitting the rag joint like I told you. So let's just go over real quick what we did here in order to make this work. So if you guys decide to do this, you'll have a little pathway to follow on what to do. Okay, so when you pull it out, you can just pull the splines out. It'll come out that way. But when you put it back in, the easiest way to do it so far is, what I found is, if you look down right here, I pulled the rag joint apart, and I pulled the piece off, because the problem you have when you're trying to slip it in, if you don't do that, is this flat needs to line up in the right place, and the splines have to go, but they're really fine splines, so it's hard to get everything lined up. So we blew it apart, we pulled it in. I have my bolts. We can bolt it together. We're not going to do that yet. We're going to leave everything loose just for right now while we're getting everything tightened up. We got it lined up. We got the bolts. And be aware, you have a big bolt on one side and a little bolt on the other side, along with the 2 indexing pins for it. So what we'll do is, now that we got it all lined up, we got to put the backing plate on with 2 screws. That'll screw that and tighten that down. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do that. And then I'm going to show you underneath here what we got. The 2 bolts. Let me bend you back a little bit here. These 2 bolts right here, there's one there and one right there, lined up underneath the thing, so we get it all lined up in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip upside down. See, this is a bracketing piece that holds this particular harness that popped off, so we'll maneuver that back into place and secure it. We'll make sure that none of this is pinched anywhere, and it's up where it needs to be, up out of the way of the new pedal and everything. We'll make sure that everything's clear and it works without stepping on it or getting caught. We'll get everything up where it's supposed to be. I got to put the heater cooling ducting work back in, but it's primarily up there. Everything lines up, it turns, nothing's catching. We'll do the final parts on this to get it, and then put the cover over, and then this will be buttoned up. Once we have that buttoned up, like we said, we're going to work on the seat. We'll pull that retractor out for that seat belt and see if we can't replace it or fix it or something. I'm sure they did the same thing on the other side because it's messed up. And then we'll turn our attentions to the motor, which has been sitting here since we pulled it out from the mock-up. We'll get it all set up and ready to go, and then we'll get it dropped in. We're going to need to get a shifter for it. So once we do that, we'll go back inside. We'll need to pull the console out once we find out where it is. Once we put the motor in and we got it secured, we'll find out where it comes. It should come right up through here, and we'll cut the appropriate hole for the shifter to come in through there, because this just bolts to the tunnel on there. We'll get the right plating. You can get those. I might have to get it aftermarket, but we'll see what we can do to get everything together and ready to go. We'll get the shifter in place. We'll get everything set up. Then we'll be able to fire this puppy up and make sure everything runs, and then we can go through the brakes and all that kind of stuff, and we'll see if we get it rocking and rolling. We'll do that seat that we talked about with the sliders, because the adjuster was off on it, and take her for a little cruise. She won't be ready for the street yet. We'll have to do a couple of things, make sure lights and all that type of stuff works, but it won't be long. We'll be ready to rock and roll with that. So hang tight. We're almost to the point where we got the 3 pedals in, totally installed, working, and everything functioning. So we'll do a couple of wrap-ups. We'll terminate this video at that point, and we'll move on to the next one where we're getting the motor prepped and into the chassis to power this baby up. All right, so stay tuned, and we'll catch you in just a little bit. All right, we got it done. It's all back together. The rag joints all tightened up. The column tightening for the splines are all tightened up. Everything has got plenty of engagement. All the bolts for the column is in. The column is up and ready to go. Everything turned. Steering wheel lines up. Cover plates are on. Everything's plugged in. Everything lined up. Got the cover pieces on. I got one trim screw I need to put in there. Only thing left is just to tie that up a little bit, and I got a little bracket that's got to come over here for the vacuum actuator for the headlights. But other than that, we're wrapped up. So I'm going to call this video complete. We've gone and we converted from 2 pedals to 3 pedals. It was a royal pain in the butt to get it out. It was a bigger pain in the butt to get it back in. But if you really want to do it, you can do it. And remember, you can get in a hydraulic version of this, so you can run a hydraulic cam. You don't have to do all this. Not cam. You can run a hydraulic slave cylinder for the clutch pedal if you want to do that. I wanted something a little bit more authentic, so I put the Z-bar in. Z-bar fits. Next step in the process, like I was saying a little bit earlier, is we're going to get the motor all set up, ready to run and test. We're not going to have that iron manifold on it. We've got a nice air gap performer aluminum we're going to clean up and put on it. We've got a Holley 650 that's going to go on it. We'll get the side pipes all set up. We'll get them in. We'll get the motor set up and going. We're going to have to go and get a shifter, position the shifter, and go ahead and get the column out and get the shifter up and in, and everything set up for that. But the next video will cover all of that, such that we get a rolling chassis. We'll put some new tires on it, of course, because these are all flat or worn out. These are okay, but we're going to use rallies initially. Remember, I'd asked the question whether we do rallies or whether we do the ones that originally come on this. I like rallies better. I'm going to go with that now, but if you think something different, even if it's not this set, let me know, and we'll try and do something. So hopefully on the next video set, we'll show getting this set up and ready to go. Then we'll show putting it in. We'll show getting all hooked up, and then we'll show it being fired up. Once it's fired up, we'll see if this sucker will move a little bit. So not too long now, guys. We'll have this thing rolling on the ground, hopefully, and we'll do brakes and make sure we go. We're not going to worry about, we'll go ahead and we'll mount the bracketry and stuff, but we're not going to worry about getting that charged. And the cruise control we'll come back to for that one later, once we know that we got everything else working on this. All right, so that'll do it for this video. We'll be back with the next one in not too long, so stay tuned. We appreciate you watching. As always, do all that jazz for me if you would. The channel's growing. People are liking the content. We got the C30 project going. We're going to work on that Imperial LeBaron here pretty soon, clean it up and get going with that. And I threw a boat one in there, and we're getting ready to start on wrapping the floors up on this correct craft that's sitting right over there, hiding in the corner, waiting for its turn. So keep your eyes on the channel, and hopefully we'll entertain you with some good content here. All right, again, thanks, and we'll see you soon on the next one.